Hello, all you witches and wizards, all you goblins and ghouls. We got a fantastic episode for you. I hope it's not going to be too beastly, though. That's
Oh
right.
no.
Today we are talking about the first three movies in the Fantastic Beasts series here on Background Noise. I'm Joe.
I'm
My co-
Jack.
I'm a wizard, Harry. I'm Joseph.
and today we're also joined by our local expert, Rebecca.
Hi.
Right. And so, as we said, we're going to be talking about Fantastic Beasts today. The first three movies in our, well, maybe the first three. We'll talk about that as well. First, some bookkeeping. Those of you who have been keeping up on the fact that I have been streaming myself playing games, that is not happening this week because I'm taking a break for Easter holiday time. But expect me to be back come next Monday, so be looking forward to that. Do we have any other bookkeeping things to talk about?
Not that I can think of at this
Okay.
point.
Alrighty.
Everybody had a happy Easter? Yeah?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Happy
pretty good.
Easter.
Yeah.
Happy belated Easter. All right, so we'll get right into it with a plot synopsis because I have three movies I need to synopsisize. So we're gonna see how I can do on time with that.
Wake me
so,
when you're done.
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. We open up with, I think we open with the Obscurial wreaking havoc in New York, or do we open with Newt coming into New York?
I thought we
Either
were
way.
with Grindelwald attacking all those guys, right?
Yes,
the next
actually,
one?
I think you're right. Okay. We open with Grindelwald attacking some people. We get a bunch of news headlines about the severity of the fact that the wizarding world is under threat. Oh no! And then we cut to theoretically, our protagonist, Newt Scamander, coming into New York. He's just trying to get rid of his magical creature that he has to release into the wilds of Arizona, which is a giant thunderbird. And then he keeps getting into problems where he get his magical creature, his fantastic beasts, his fantastic beasts keep escaping from his magical suitcase and causing mayhem around the city. And simultaneously, while they're escaping and causing mayhem, there's also something called an Obscurial wreaking havoc on the city. And he gets blamed for that because it turns out, you later find out that the person who is behind the investigation is actually Grindelwald in disguise, and he wants to get Newt out of the way so that he can catch the Obscurial for himself and use it as a weapon, the Obscurial being an actual human boy. And then there's a lot of shenanigans of them running around catching magical creatures. Newt, his friend, his female companion, Tina, her sister, Queenie, and a random muggle baker named Jacob, who is by far the best character in the series. Hands down. But eventually they catch all the magical beasts, and then they figure out that the Obscurial is a person named Credence Barebones, and he goes crazy, and they manage to stop him from killing a bunch of people, and then they fight Grindelwald, they catch him, they lock him up. End of movie. Start of movie 2, we go to Grindelwald, who is in prison, who is being transferred from magical America to magical Europe, because for some reason they want to try him over in magical Europe as well.
And he looks like Johnny Depp now.
Yeah, but now, he was always played by Johnny Depp originally. It was just that
Right.
he was Johnny Depp in disguise, and now he's being Johnny Depp. And we get a scene that makes absolutely no sense, where we get a weird switcheroo thing between Grindelwald and some other character. That scene makes absolutely no sense, but it results in Grindelwald escaping, and then we cut to Newt, who's trying to get permission to leave England because he wants to do something with magical beasts, and he can't get permission because of the shenanigans in America. But then he talks to Dumbledore, and Dumbledore is like, hey, I want you to go leave the country anyway because you need to do these things for me, because Dumbledore always sends other people to go do his job for him. And we also find out that Jacob and Queenie were engaged, but Queenie had enchanted Jacob because he was upset because muggles and witches aren't allowed to date, and so she enchanted him to make him be okay with the fact that they were dating, I guess.
I thought it was a marriage thing. I don't think we care about dating as much. I thought it was like...
Well, okay, they're engaged. They are engaged.
Either way, it's pretty weird.
It's weird.
It's
but the point being, the reason it's important is because when the enchantment is lifted, Queenie gets upset and runs off, and so Jacob teams up with Newt again to go find Queenie, who also is in France, because Tina's also in France, because all of the things that are happening in France. And what's happening is that the obscurial Credence Barebones is not dead, but is in France. And so everyone is going to France because this one character that everyone cares about so much is there. And we've got a guy who's trying to murder him because he thinks that Credence is actually his, like, sort of half brother, I guess. The family connection there is weird and strange.
Worst part of that movie.
There's that guy, and we've got the Aurors who are trying to hunt him down because they think he's dangerous, and they got Grindelwald who wants to recruit him because Credence is an obscurial and maybe could kill Dumbledore instead of having Grindelwald kill Dumbledore. And then, like, there's a big reveal about who Credence actually is, there's a big reveal about how everyone thinks Credence is this person named Corvus Lestrange, but Corvus Lestrange is actually dead because of shenanigans, because Lea Lestrange was a bad sister. And then Grindelwald has a big rally, and a bunch of Aurors try to arrest him, and a bunch of people get turned into blue flames, and Queenie leaves and joins the bad guys, and everyone's really sad and depressed. But they do manage to get a magical artifact that Grindelwald had on him that was protecting him from being attacked by Dumbledore, which means maybe Dumbledore could attack him now. And then we finally get to the third movie, where Newt is recovering something called a Chillin baby from Mama Chillin to protect it, because Grindelwald wants to steal the baby Chillin, because Chillins are magical creatures that tell you whether or not someone is a good person, I guess. And then Grindelwald's companions steal one baby Chillin, but Newt gets the other baby Chillin because they were twins. And so now there's two of these weird magic horse fish looking things in play.
Oh, my brain, it hurts.
Yeah, and then Dumbledore's like, okay, we got to make a plan to not let Grindelwald get elected to be the leader of the magical community, but Grindelwald's a seer, which means we need to have plans that don't make any sense, so he can't tell what's going on. And so we just got a bunch of chaos and confusion of random things happening that maybe are part of the plan and also maybe are not part of the plan on purpose. Like, the entire point of the movie is that it's not supposed to make sense on purpose to confuse the guy who can see the future. But it ends up resulting, after a long tangle of nonsense, in all the characters that we care about at this, except for Tina, all the characters we care about except for Tina at this magic temple that's like the center of magic or something, where they're going to have the magic election to decide who's the magic leader of the magic world. And Grindelwald has killed his Chillin, necromantically revived it in order to make it think that he is the person who should be the leader, but then they reveal that it's actually a necromantic Chillin, and they have the real one come out, and then it chooses Dumbledore, but then he's like, no, I'm not the leader. We want this lady to be the random lady who doesn't get a single line of dialogue in the entire movie to be the leader. And the Chillin's like, oh yeah, you're right. I got you, Dumbledore. Don't worry. And he goes and bows to her. So she's picked to be the leader of the magical world. This character who doesn't have a single line of dialogue in the entire movie. And then Grindelwald is all upset because Credence turned on him and tries to kill him. But Credence is actually Albus Dumbledore's nephew, because he's Aberforth Dumbledore's son, because of reasons. And so Aberforth and Albus both protect Credence from Grindelwald, which breaks the magic thing that was preventing Albus and Grindelwald from fighting. So Albus and Grindelwald fight, except maybe they don't, because they're in the mirror dimension, basically. They're basically in the Doctor Strange mirror dimension while they're fighting. So
shouldn't Doctor Strange be in control?
You're right. I don't know. I don't know if that fight even counts or not. And then Grindelwald leaves, and then we go back. And then Queenie at this point has been redeemed because of shenanigans in the movie. So she and Jacob go back to New York to get married, and we end on the wedding scene. I think I think that's basically all of the things that are actually important plot-wise to this movie. There are a lot of fun scenes that I left out, but they aren't actually relevant to the plot. So,
But Joe, you didn't mention Newt a lot in that last movie.
I know. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's start with the good. Let's start with the good for these three movies, and then we'll do the other afterwards. So,
when does the ugly come in?
Yeah, right. Well, we're gonna do the good first, and then we'll do the bad and the ugly afterwards. So the good is, I definitely the movies. It's David Yates, right, as the director.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
David Yates definitely knows Harry Potter magic. Like, he definitely knows how to make the Wizarding World magic feel whimsical, fun, cool, something that you'd like watching happen. And so he still nails that. We still have all the good special effects. We still have all the whimsy of the Wizarding World. So, what are your guys' thoughts there?
No, I agree. I'm happy they kept Yates on, considering he's, I think, even before Fantastic Beasts, he had ended up directing more of the Harry Potter films than any of the other directors. The others, I think the most before that had been 2, which was Chris Columbus. He directed the first 2. Then after that, it was somebody did 3, somebody did 4, and then Yates here on out. So I'm glad they kept him. Again, he definitely nailed the look, like you said. And trying to do good points. I like Newt, especially in the first film. He's the sort of character, just the more shy, awkward sort of character. And it's interesting that they make him the main character, because normally it's sort of character you see as like a supporting role. Because the main character is definitely more the brave, charismatic leads who, the adventure and the stakes are thrust upon them. They have to overcome them, sort of thing. So definitely not your typical protagonist, but at least in the first one, I thought he was pretty good at being the protagonist. It gets a bit more confusing in 2 and 3 who the actual protagonist is, but anyway, I thought that was good. Jacob and Queenie, I thought were very fun. My thought, this is sort of, it's not even my pitch, but my idea, what I thought would have been better than Newt, or different, would have been, at least in the first film, having Jacob be the protagonist, and we see it through Jacob's eyes. I think that would have been a bit more interesting, because we've never gotten that either in a book that I'm aware of. Our local expert or somebody else might know better. I don't think we've ever gotten a Wizarding World book or piece of fiction, fan fiction probably, but regular fiction or a book or movie where it's from the Muggle's perspective. So though he is the character we sort of relate to in the series because he is the human, having him be the protagonist I thought would have been very interesting. And on a side note, I can't help but laugh anytime he drinks the giggle water. That always cracks me up.
Yes, excellent addition. That's the thing. Like, those little moments of fun, those all work.
Yes. And the scene, it was in the first one where they catch the dragon inside the teapot. That was a blast. Yep. Him catching the creatures. I enjoyed all that. All the Fantastic Beasts I really enjoyed, and that made sense in the first one. And then the other films, it was featuring Fantastic Beasts instead of being Fantastic Beast movies. So, but again, we'll get to that. Where was it? I really liked Colin Farrell in the first one. I liked his character, him sort of being Grindelwald in disguise. It really depends on if they end up making a 4 or 5 or not. I wish they'd done it in the trilogy. I would have loved if they had pulled a Mad Eye and brought back the good Colin Farrell character. Because obviously he's Polyjuice Potion from somebody. So if they had brought back Colin Farrell's character as he actually is supposed to be, as a good guy helping them, I think that would have been pretty sweet.
That would have been... That's something that maybe... Well, I won't say it. That's something that maybe would be a good idea if someone was planning a story from start to finish.
Yeah. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. I think like Johnny Depp as Grindelwald more than Mads Mikkelsen. I think Mikkelsen's good, but I don't know. Something about Depp, I think maybe it's just personal preference, but I think I liked him a bit more as Grindelwald.
I think Johnny Depp does a really good job of playing the interesting characters, because he was Jack Sparrow, and I don't know. I think he does a good job of doing that, but I preferred Johnny Depp too over the other guy. But yeah.
Yeah, he's very good at really owning his characters and really becoming them, if you will. So
he plays a good, larger than life, charismatic, but also offbeat character, right?
Yeah.
Like not someone who's like, yes, this is the generic hero guy that everyone can just support. He doesn't play a Will Turner. He plays a Jack Sparrow, right?
Right.
Or he doesn't play a Dumbledore. He plays a Grindelwald very well. Not that Grindelwald's a hero. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Right.
Yeah. And I also like some of the things that I like about the movies is like I like that there's the shy, awkward main character because I'm really shy and awkward, so I can relate to that. And I really like Jacob because like I feel like he's a good representation of how like Muggles would react in the Wizarding world and how we can kind of see like, oh, like he's reacting this way. This is probably how I would react if I was in the Wizarding world. So those are a couple things. And then a really like minor detail that I love in Crimes of Grindelwald is when it's like the blue fire and he's doing kind of like the conducting the fire, but like it goes with the music. I love that scene. That's like my favorite scene in the Crimes of Grindelwald movie because it's just cool how like the fire and him moving his hands goes with the music. So I thought that was really cool effect to that movie.
Yeah, definitely a highlight for these are the visuals because I mean, even if you look at even some of the older Harry Potters, it's just like I mean they do some stuff, but this definitely benefits from the 5 years in between and letting that technology develop a little more. And, you know, they probably had a little bit bigger budgets, so they were definitely able to pull off a lot of really interesting visuals in, I'm going to say the first one, because out of all three of these, I guess I like the first one a little better. It's like they're definitely able to pull off that visual element a little better without it going overboard, funnily enough, in the first one.
Well, let's compare beginning to end, right? Sorcerer's Stone, we have something like the Cerberus Fluffy, right? Where all of the times when you see that Cerberus creature on screen, it's like half shadowed, looming over the characters. It never actually touches or interacts with anyone, except for when some drool drips down Ron's shirt.
The right? Quintessential early 2000s CGI, yep.
Yeah, right, exactly. Whereas in this most recent one, people are holding and carrying around the Chillin all the time, and it never looks like it's something that was CGI'd in. It looks like an actual animal, a weird looking animal, nothing that we would see in our world, but a weird looking creature that people are actually carrying around and interacting with as though it's a real thing.
Sure. Yeah,
so we definitely see. I think we can safely say that the special effects are very solid. And I also think the acting is great. I think every character. I'm trying to think of a negative case to this. I think every character is portrayed like very realistic, very realistically, very relatably. The actors do a great job of selling those characters. You know, Newt. Well, it helps that Eddie Redmayne is also a very awkward person in general, and so playing Newt Scamander, he's just like, okay, Eddie, this is how you normally behave. Now do that about 10 times as much as you normally do.
You're a wizard now, Eddie. Change nothing.
Yes. Act exactly how you normally would, but also hold a wand in your hand and pretend to cast spells every so often. And also talk about magical creatures all the time.
I will definitely agree. I think the acting was good, but I don't necessarily think all of the characters were handled the best.
Yeah, I was about to say, okay. I got a couple comments for the ugly section.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, we'll go back. But yes, in general, I'd say the acting was very good. Like, while I don't necessarily think Jude Law brought anything particularly different to Dumbledore compared to Richard Harris or Michael Gambon, I still thought he was a fine Dumbledore, and he acted the part very well.
Especially as a younger Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Prime of his youth at
That's right.
50, I think, is how old he would be canonically at that point. Maybe? I don't know. I'll have to double check. Well, we could consult our local expert. Do you know how old Dumbledore would have been in the 20s and 30s?
I don't know.
We got to find better experts.
Right. I wouldn't really call myself an expert.
Close enough.
All right. All right. Do we have any more positive things to say, or do we want to get into the second half of our reviews?
No, rip and tear.
All right. So, the bad and the ugly. The first thing is the most obvious thing is that the first Harry Potter, the Harry Potter books were written as, here is a thing. Here's a self-contained story that is intended to be part of a series, right? And obviously the entire series wasn't written before the first one was published, the general idea of what was going to happen in the 7 books was written before any of them were published. And then the movies were made with the understanding that it was part of a 7-part series. Here it is very obvious that they are saying, okay, let's make a movie. Oh, it did well. Great. So now let's make the next movie. And we're going to write up the script and do everything from scratch, building off of what we already had, but only building on it, not actually saying this is part of an overarching story. And maybe there is an overarching story that they're leading up to here, but it's very obvious that they don't have that pre-planned going into things. Would you guys say that's fair?
Yeah, I'm afraid it reeks of The Hobbit.
Sequelitis.
Cinematic planning. It's just like, all right, this worked. We've got this other thing set in the same world. People love it. How are we gonna capitalize on this? Which seems a little cynical, but I mean, that is what they're thinking about. It's just like, all right, we'll bring in J.K. Rowling. We'll bring in such and such. It's gonna be just like the others, but we're gonna make it a little different. And I think the first movie is a little too much. I mean, we brought up David Yates. I would say that his style kind of works against him in the first Fantastic Beasts, which, I mean, it's not awful, but it just seems like, yeah, you could tell David Yates directed this. And then it's like, all right, why don't we shake it up a little? And then it gave us Crimes of Grindelwald, which I can go on about a lot. I don't even have that big a connection. I can talk about how it's like, this ain't it, Chief. I don't know. This one ain't it.
Yeah, what was I looking at? Oh, yeah. I think just the reason that the first one works in comparison to 2 and 3 is that there's little to nothing either connecting it. Like, you could really go into this one without having seen the other Harry Potter films or needing to watch the sequels. I think it stands on its own pretty well, honestly. And there's very little at the end to indicate that a sequel is needed. But it was like you said, Joe, there was money to be made, so they went for it. And they reversed a lot of the stuff that happened in the first film to make this work. Like, I absolutely love Jacob's story arc. You know, he accidentally discovers the Wizarding World, and then his mind's erased. Obviously, who is it? Queenie sees him at the end. Yep. So we can assume they could have left that up to the viewers. They could have left that up to interpretation what happens with them, despite him losing his memories and all that. But he had a very good arc. A lot of people actually had pretty good arcs, and a lot of stuff could have been left up to interpretation. I mean, it's already pretty impressive that you've been able to make a decent movie when all you had was pretty much a guidebook to go off. So you could have stopped it there. Not bad. But then we get the second, and they decide to do stuff like... Because it seemed like Credence was pretty dead, so they decided to bring him back and make us care about him, I guess.
They never really explain how he comes back, does he? He's just
not
like,
really.
Oh,
No.
Nope.
And again,
Ezra Miller still had a contract.
They just give us this random reason why Jacob can suddenly remember everything. And again, they just threw stuff in like that so that they could turn what was a movie into a franchise. So it was just unfortunate. So it's also, especially 2 and 3, do this way more than 1. They do a lot of what's become very popular these days, throwing out references and things like that from the Harry Potter stuff to justify a weak story. Like things like, I mean, obviously Dumbledore's cool, but they pretty much threw him in there because they didn't really have much of a story, and they thought character moments with him would be good. I mean, again, I have 2 and 3 labeled as Dumbledore versus Grindelwald featuring Fantastic Beasts, and Dumbledore versus Grindelwald Part 2 featuring Fantastic Beasts.
Yep.
And so
the problem is, this is actually a problem with the idea, because in Harry Potter, one of the things that Dumbledore famously did when he was younger is he defeated Grindelwald.
Mm-hmm.
Like Grindelwald was like pre-Voldemort, basically, and Dumbledore and him faced off, just like Harry and Voldemort face off over the course of Harry Potter. So if you started off telling that story, if you're like, okay, the story is going to be about Dumbledore as our main character fighting Grindelwald, fine, that's great, that's cool, right? You can make a story about that, and it's like it shows how Dumbledore becomes the mentor figure that he is in Harry Potter. But instead, he's already the mentor figure that he is in Harry Potter. He's already the kind of person who makes plans and has other people do things, and he's in the background making stuff happen. But he's not the person who goes out and fights until he has to, until it's the last moment, and he's the cavalry that comes in as the last resort. But then it's like, okay, so is he the main character, or is he the guy in the background pulling the strings?
Right. Yeah, just again shows very clearly that it was not planned to be a franchise. It was, if it does well, then we look into doing that. And that's when they decide to throw all the other additional characters at you and focus a lot less on the core 4 people from the first film. Like, is it, oh shoot, what's the girl's name who's not Queenie? Is it Tina?
Tina.
See, exactly. We can't even remember.
Yeah, right. You can't even, unless you're a big fan, you don't even know who she is.
It was like, for especially the third film, they're like, oh yeah, you know how little we put Tina in the second film? You want even less?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I know you want more. How about no?
No, how about no? Also, just, I have to bring it up because every time something like this happens, I have to bring it up. End of the first movie, we have a relationship between both Newt and Tina, and a relationship between Queenie and Jacob set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then second movie, instead of letting people be in a happy relationship and working together as a couple, we have to do the thing where there's a weird misunderstanding between people, and because there's a misunderstanding, they're actually fighting instead of being in a happy couple, because Hollywood doesn't know how to write people in relationships. They only know how to write people getting into relationships and people fighting in relationships. They don't know how to write people in relationships. And so it's like, it would have been so cool if Newt is the main character, and then Tina is the second most important character, and so we have these two characters that we care about working together because they're in a couple, and also they have a mutual goal that they're working towards. And instead, we have to have them working and have cross purposes to each other because we don't know how to write people in a relationship.
They pulled a sitcom move.
Yeah,
I was about to say, but Joe, people love soap operas.
No,
We do.
nobody loves soap operas.
False.
Apparently whoever wrote the second one did, because it's just like, I hate status quo resets. Just, they're so cheap, and I feel like the second movie is just status quo resets. Harry Potter and the status quo resets, and it's just. Yeah, and I think another thing that kind of suffers because of that is, again, because no planning, the tone kind of suffers too. That the second one's kind of grim and not in like the latter Harry Potter movie style. It's like, because I mean, what is it? There was 4 or 5 movies of build up before things got like dark. I'm a casual Harry Potter. The Harry Potter head, or whatever you guys call yourselves.
Potterhead.
Yeah, I'm a casual one of that. But it's like, yeah, there's like 4. Oh man, we're going to magic school. It's so cool. And then like there's Voldemort shows up. It's like, all right, time to suck all the color out of this movie. And then they do. And then it's just like, okay, we got the first one, and then they tried to recapture that big change, and they're just like, all right, Grindelwald's here. Everything sucks. Have him, I don't know, kill people or something, and then 20 minutes later have, I don't know, somebody doing a chicken dance. It's just like, this is, you're giving me whiplash here. What's going on?
Yeah, it works. It does work well in the first one, right? Because we have the undercurrent of Graves, right? We think it's Graves. We don't know it's Grindelwald yet.
Mhm.
We have the undercurrent of Graves and Credence going on, but it's mostly focused on Newt and his care for his magical creatures, right? And so it's like, okay, it makes sense that this is fun, but we also understand there's something else going on in the background. And then as soon as we hit these later two movies, it's like, okay, we have a scene where Newt and his brother Theseus, which we haven't even mentioned yet, because again, there's so many characters who are just in these movies. Newt is trying to break Theseus out of prison, and they're doing like a weird little dance thing to get past the crab monsters. As people are getting murdered, people are just getting stabbed by a giant manticore and scorpion tail thing, and murdered and thrown to the crabs to get eaten. But it's so funny how Newton, his brother, are doing a weird little dance to get out. Like,
I did like the little crab creatures. I forgot
the crab creatures are great.
That in the good.
The crab creatures are great. Well, again, magical beasts. Pretty much all the magical beasts are great. It's just like all of the fantastic beasts in these Fantastic Beasts movies are great. And Newt, the one who cares about Fantastic Beasts, is definitely the best, most interesting of the characters. It's just not the story that they seem to want to tell.
Yeah, I was disappointed that it seems that it's becoming more about Dumbledore and not about Newt. It's like, I care about Newt more than I care about Dumbledore. And I care about Newt and Tina's relationship because I'm pretty sure, like, in the Harry Potter books, they're mentioned that they're married with kids or something. So, like, I want to see their relationship develop. And, like, I don't know. I think it should be more about Newt and those characters than I don't know. But yeah. And then I don't know, the biggest thing that bothers me about the third movie is the fact that the Chillin bows to Dumbledore, because I don't think it's like just a good person, but it's like pure of heart, and Dumbledore is not pure of heart in my opinion. And I think that, like, I was expecting the Chillin to either pick Newt or Jacob. That's where I thought it was going to go, and I was very disappointed that that is not where it went. So
it kind of, I was about to say, it kind of is set up to be like, all right, these are like these are the audience surrogates. These are the actual audience surrogates, because as good as Harry Potter is, it's a little bit hard to see yourself in him once he gets full chosen one or whatever. And yeah, very, very much Newt and Jacob. The fact that Newt's not a very good magic user just made him even more relatable. So yeah, that is a definite missed opportunity there, which is just like, and also it's just more, oh man, isn't Dumbledore so cool? The Chillin picked him. He's just so cool.
That's the secret.
The secret is he's super cool.
The secret is he gets all of the things.
And isn't we kind of realize in the Harry Potter books / movies that Dumbledore basically just protects Harry so Voldemort can kill him anyway? So like he's like protecting him through all these books and movies, and then Voldemort like kind of kills him, but not really. And you kind of realize that, oh, maybe Dumbledore isn't as great as everyone thinks he is. At least that's what I think.
He really does have some like chess master, some chess master mastermind vibes. It's just yes, the pawns go first. Yeah, Harry's gonna have to die, but we'll win. Oh yeah, we gotta what is it? Sacrifice such and such for stuff to win. And yeah, I may or may not be doing incredibly illegal things, but yeah. But he's so cool.
Yeah, here's the thing. There's a principle here, which is, if you have a cool character, you want to show them as little as possible, because the more you show them, the less cool they are. Right? Dumbledore is very cool in Harry Potter because he pretty much only shows up at the end to explain or solve the big problem that no one else can do. Or you get like little moments from him here and there to remind you that he's a character, but he's very hands off. Yeah, did you shut up with the goblet of fire?
You said
calmly. Yeah, exactly.
Oh god.
But for the most part, he's in the background, and he comes more into focus over the course of the story as the story gets darker. Whereas here, he's completely in the background in the first one, right? We don't see him at all, and then right from the moment he appears on screen, it's like he dominates. Dumbledore is the center of attention here, and it's like he wants to be the center of attention, as opposed to, in later stories, he's intentionally keeping himself hidden, basically.
Right.
And it made sense. He's cooler when you keep him hidden. When you keep putting him in the front, it's like, okay, well, just make him the main character then. And if you're going to make him the main character, you can't have him be this overpowered.
It really is funny that it's somehow J.K. Rowling has misrepresented her own character what is it? She's made her own character be out of character just because, again, background guy. All right, let's explore him. And then it just completely falls flat. Not completely. 50-50. 50-50.
It's not he falls flat. It's just, it's not what it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes to show that just because you can write a book, even a really good book, doesn't mean you can write a screenplay. Because, I mean, some people have mentioned, I think I mentioned this already, but some people would say that David Yates could be to blame because he was the director. But I definitely think J.K. Rowling is more to blame than Yates, because for all of these films, I mean, I can appreciate that the filmmakers understand that this is J.K. Rowling's world, so they're going to let her do some of the writing. Totally respect that. I get that. I appreciate that they, know where it's come from. I mean, it's basically doing the opposite of what they did with George Lucas and completely pushing him away from Star Wars. And look where that happened. So, but anyway, despite letting her do some of the writing, having her do the screenplays and be like pretty much the sole writer of the screenplays did not do these films any favors. Because you look at the Harry Potter films, for all of them but one, you had a guy named Steve Kloves, who was the primary guy who did the screenplays. I think Rowling probably, was there to make sure they were mostly faithful to the book. But he was the guy who's like, yep, I've written for films before. I know how to write for a movie. Just because it's a book, it's a good book, doesn't mean it's going to make a good movie. Mm-hmm. I think the third is actually the biggest one that's hurt the most by this, because 80% of the film is them walking and talking. And the big climax is an election. It's like, could this make an interesting book? Sure. A movie? It's pretty dull. And so, so I think that's just the big thing there is just because, I'll just go back to what I said, just because you're a great author does not mean you can write a great screenplay, because they're two very different things. And I think that's really what makes these films not as good as the Harry Potter films, because I feel like, I could be wrong, it's quite possible. First off, we already mentioned this. If it had been fully planned out, that's another thing, because they already planned this out. The only thing they probably changed was making Harry Potter the 7 2 parts. I bet that's the only thing they changed as you got closer to the end, because they realized they could make more money. That's my assumption. But again, it was 7 books. It was roughly 7 8 movies. So there you go. This, if it had been planned out better and they got somebody who could actually write a screenplay, I really feel like that would have helped. Somehow the first, despite J.K. being the only person to write, somehow still works. But with the others, on top of them just trying to do them because they could, and the fact that they didn't have somebody who actually knew how to write a screenplay, I feel like those are the primary things that really makes these films not work.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It has become clear to me, I don't know how it happened exactly, but I think that for a period of time, J.K. Rowling was like possessed by the spirit of some famous dead or some unknown dead writer, and so for the time that she was writing the Harry Potter books, she was just like in a fury. She was just in a fever, writing constantly. And then the spirit passed, and now she has no idea what she did. She has no idea how she made what she made and why it was so successful. And now she's like, well, I guess we'll do this. I guess we'll do this. Getting increasingly more exasperated because she doesn't know
what are the
how
fans
to
like?
explain.
We're never talking about Cursed Child on this podcast. That doesn't exist. That is a cursed play, a cursed production.
Exactly, right? It's like, okay, she clearly doesn't actually know what she has, and so she keeps trying to recapture the magic, pun fully intended,
Yep.
and doesn't know how to do it. I had a analogy that I came up with. This is what I thought of when I was leaving the theater from Fantastic Beasts 3. It's like if you had a bottle of root beer, like a can of root beer or whatever, and like the first movie was like you have a nice thing of root beer, and then you drink half of it, and then you refill it with water, and so what you have still tastes like root beer, but it's very much not actually root beer. And that was the second one. And then you drink half of it again, and you again refilled it with water. And so you're like, okay, it still has a root beery flavor. I can tell it's got the pizzazz and the flavor and the taste of Harry Potter whimsy magic, but none of the substance is there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably the best description of the Fantastic Beasts movies.
Right.
You drank root beer while you were watching the movie, didn't you, Joe?
I actually didn't. I drank water while watching the movie.
That tasted like root beer.
I drank water that was in the same cup that root beer had once been in.
That's what you asked for at the movie theater.
And that'll be the descriptor for the fourth one.
No, not just a cup of water. No, I want you to put root beer in the cup, dump it out, then put water in it. That's what I want.
I want you to take a sip of root beer.
I want to pay money for that.
Yep, that's exactly how it went.
Random fact, actually, Joe, looking at Clovis's writing credits, his first writing credit after Harry Potter was The Amazing Spider-Man. And the reason it didn't work, the reason I think it didn't work is because he was not the sole writer. He got two other guys, and they probably messed with his mojo.
Probably.
That makes sense, actually. I mean, two writers on a movie that aren't in sync can cause problems, but three is like a writers. This is like some Michael Bay level stuff. I only say that because it's like the fourth Transformers movie. There's like some kind of interview. It's like, yeah, we got like the writers room. We got like 20 people in there talking about, yeah, what can we do for this movie? It's like, oh no, why?
Can you name those 20 writers?
We didn't exactly hire them,
Yeah. All right. Well, any more final closing thoughts, gentlemen, on these very mediocre movies? These not so fantastic movies?
I feel like we kind of did tear them apart, but the first one was good.
I'd say watch the first if you like.
Watch the first one.
It's fun. I like it. You just don't need to watch the second and third unless. No, I can't think of a reason. No,
even if you're a Harry Potter addict, you can get your fix somewhere else. I mean, I would say there's like so many better things. I would guess. Again, from an outsider perspective, it's like, yeah, there's a whole sea. You don't have to go over to that dark area of the water. It's fun.
There are in fact Harry Potter fan fictions that are better than certainly the third movie and maybe the second movie too.
Yeah,
Joe should know. He's written some.
I can neither confirm nor deny these rumors.
I will find them.
All right. Well,
but yeah, anything from you, Rebecca? Uh-oh, Rebecca, you're on mute.
You're muted. We can't hear you. Oh, she's not in the call.
She's
anymore.
not in the call. What happened?
Oh, what in the world?
You left the recording, Rebecca.
Can she hear?
All right, let's go into the. Looks like you accidentally left the call, Rebecca.
We wanted to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, that's so strange. That did that with me a couple times, I think. Yeah, go ahead and close out that window and then rejoin from the email.
Yep. Yeah, do that.
Yep. I was about to say, you've been really quiet all of a sudden. But then I realized, okay, well, that makes sense.
I was curious how much we've missed.
Yeah, sorry about that. Well, I don't know why I'm saying sorry. I didn't close it.
It's your fault.
I don't run Anchor.
How dare
all
you?
Right. I have noted that 48 minutes in, We have a small.
Yeah, and Joe, just count us back in so we can resume whenever.
Okay. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, kind of related but unrelated is if they wouldn't screw it up like they are doing to the Fantastic Beasts movies, is to have a Marauders series or something of like, so it's after all the Fantastic Beasts stuff, but before the Harry Potter stuff. So like, like Sirius, Lupin, James, and Pettigrew. I would really like to see an adaptation of that. I know there's a lot of fan edits out there on YouTube that are really good, so maybe that could happen. But I would like to see more Fantastic Beasts movies if they could somehow salvage it, keep going down the wrong path that they're going down right now.
Yeah,
Yep.
I definitely think it is salvageable, which is not not many things you can say for certain current properties in modern day.
Yep. I think that's kind of my closing thought is this was such a great franchise, and I would hate to see it die this way. I would hate to see it die with them just making a bunch of mediocre movies and then giving up. I would like them to salvage it. I'd like them to bring it back. I think they could bring it back and have this just be kind of a dull spot on the record. But I don't know if they're willing to put in the effort they need to turn it around. So
We're in the ashes phase. It's going to be a while till the phoenix rises again.
ha ha ha! Yes, that's a
Timely
good
reference.
Timely reference, sir.
We just need. They just need to make Clovis in charge again. I'd say they do that for a movie that could really change things.
Well, we shall see. All right, do we want to do some out of 10 scores here?
Sure.
Oh man, we forgot to do that last week.
Oh, for Sonic?
I forgot to do that last week.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's okay.
It's fine.
No, I'm going to insert that now. No, let's go ahead.
Nope. All right. So, who wants to start us off?
I guess I can. So the first Fantastic Beasts film, I'd give a solid 8. I had a lot of fun with it, and I would definitely watch it again. The second and third, I think I gave both of those around a 6. It's very hard to bring anything down to a 5 because Eternals is a 5, as we know. So at least it was for me. So trying to get it tied or lower than that would be tricky. So I'd probably give both of them a 6. Maybe I'd bring 3 down to a 5 because it was the most dull of the 3. But again, I do not plan on watching 2 or 3 anytime soon unless they come out with a 4th one and I've forgotten everything.
Yeah, fair.
So that's where I'm at.
Joseph?
Yeah. First Fantastic Beasts, pretty good. Outsider looking in perspective is again kind of coloring this, but it was a good 6.5. I'd say it's enjoyable enough. Again, a very good self-contained movie, which is why I'm giving the second one a 3.5. Yes, worse than Eternals.
Wow.
Again, it's like
What'd you give Eternals?
I think I gave it like a 4.5. I can't even remember. I think it was a little higher than you guys scored, but again, it's one of those movies you think about it more. It's just like I remember barely anything. All I know is I don't like it, and I remember more about the Crimes of Grindelwald, but only because it was glaring problems. And I don't. Yeah, I don't know. It's just 3.5. I couldn't get back my time. I could have done so much with it. That's another thing. Loop back to the closing thought. The second one was really long. It just and it could have been just because it wasn't as good a movie, but it was really felt like it dragged a lot. But it's anyway. And the third one, middle of the road, 5. I could have been worse. Could have been better. Could have been worse.
Interesting. Rebecca, our local expert.
I would say the first one was an 8.5 for me. and then the second one would probably be like a 6.5, and then the third one would be, I'd say, a 5.
Okay, so just for keeping it on the record, I'm retroactively making Eternals my 1. That is now what I consider a 1 from now on.
Oh no.
So that we can say things that are down in the lower numbers without saying that they're worse than Eternals.
Fair enough.
Eternals is not a 0 yet, because
Major retcon in the background noise continuity here.
but maybe I will eventually. But Eternals is a 1. So I would put first one at 8. I'd put the second one at 6, and I'd put the third one at 4. I actually I enjoyed the second one more, and probably it's a little bit of nostalgia and it's a little bit of wish fulfillment, but by the third one I was just there are some things that were fun, and there's a lot of other stuff. I was just kind of disappointed the entire time I watched that movie. So that's what a 4 will get. That's what a 4 will do for you.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's fair.
All right, well, I think that's all we have for you guys today, right? So if you've been listening, thanks for paying attention, and if not, hey, you just missed us talking about this disappointing, drawn out, long awaited death of a once great franchise. Yeah, until next time, bye.